already had to rein myself in from throwing my head around while I'm trying to think of things. But the there really wasn't a major storyline this week outside, as far as I could tell, outside of the developing Texas exodus, the Democrat exodus from Texas.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if you've even seen anything about this.
I heard a couple of things about it.
Yeah, I've got some clips. I don't know if we want to open with that or open with something overseas, since there wasn't, since there wasn't anything huge this week that I could see. Just some little things here and there, some little follow ups and um, continuations and relapses of war, and Cambodia and um, Thailand relapsed into fighting, but nothing that really grabbed the headlines and took most of the time.
Sure, we did get a note that was interesting. I believe we both got it about a little bit about Thailand and Cambodia from a person, and I'm pretty sure the name in the email is a reference to a book and not their real name. But to avoid that, I'll just kind of read this intro on the Thailand and Cambodia. It says, "Greeting, gents. A quick introduction. I'm a senior military officer and what you might call a spook. I have a bunch of kids, so I'm a little lean on treasury, but I thought I would donate some time and talent." And he goes, "Response to Thailand and Cambodia. I have not been in the Pacific AOR in some time, but last I knew, the USSOF community, specifically the 1st Special Forces Group, still has some strong ties with the Royal Thai Army. We do exercise Cobra Gold every year. If you're a soldier assigned to the 1SG, it is highly coveted opportunity to get over to Thailand and do a jump with them and earn the Royal Thai jump wings. Have a Google of those. They quite Trump-esque. They are quite Trump-esque and have allowed to wear them on their uniforms. So interesting. You can go over to Thailand and earn your Royal Thai jump wings, along with probably your wings and a couple of other extracurricular activities, I'd imagine. But so that was a little insight there from Thailand and Cambodia. And they've got a couple other notes about stuff that we've talked about. But I thought that was a good follow up. So a lot of people have come out and they emailed and said they think you're kind of right about the whole Thailand Cambodia thing, where Thailand is closely aligned or closer aligned with the U.S. than Cambodia, and it could potentially be a destabilization tactic or play, like you mentioned.
The resurgence of fighting backs that up.
Yeah.
Um, so, who knows where it'll go from here? It would be in China's interest for the Thai military, and this is going off of last week's analysis. So if you're interested in the foundation of this, then go back and listen to last week, episode 180. But it would be in China's interest for the fighting to continue so that the military can't oust the family in power in Thailand. And it would be in the U.S. interest if the military is able to oust this family and do a rinse and repeat in Thailand, as happens every so often, as we learned last week.
Right. There's a couple of clips that I have out of the region, more so China than anything. But I thought this was interesting, out of the Sea of Japan. Some joint naval exercises that are going on between Russia and China. So I'll drop this clip here.
China and Russia have launched a fresh round of joint naval exercises in the Sea of Japan. The move comes amid escalating tensions with the United States and growing concerns over regional security in the Indo-Pacific region. The joint Sea 2025 drills kicked off near the Russian port city of Vladivostok. The Sino-China joint drills are scheduled to continue till 5th of August. According to China's defense ministry, the drills will include submarine rescue operations, joint anti-submarine warfare, air defense and anti-missile missions, as well as complex maritime combat maneuvers. alongside several Russian
So
vessels. Four
complex.
Chinese warships are participating. These include two guided missile destroyers, the Shaoxing and the Urukmi. After the exercise concludes, the two navies plan to conduct joint patrols in the Pacific, a move seen as a strategic signal to the Western Alliance. Last year's drills took place off China's southern coast. This year, the focus moves Sea of Japan waters that have long been a strategic.
I just want to. So he says after the drills end, the navies are going to continue joint patrols of the South China Sea. Did you hear that too?
Yes.
So it seems like after the drills, they're there in the region full time. That's what I kind of read when I heard this. So I don't know. I'll play the clip. I'll back it up and play it again.
Pacific, a move seen as a strategic signal to the Western Alliance. Last year's drills took place off China's southern coast. This year, the focus moves Sea of Japan waters that have long been a strategic flashpoint between Japan, Russia, and China. This comes at a time when U.S. military is conducting one of the largest air exercises in Indo-Pacific theater. The Resolute Force Pacific exercise involved 350 combat and support aircraft with over 12,000 personnel from several allied countries in the region. China and Russia's naval war games are taking place in the Sea of Japan. On the other hand, U.S. and allies are conducting Pacific war games across different locations in the Pacific. Over the span of several weeks, the U.S.-led Resolute Force Pacific exercise will take place in 50-plus locations across 3,000 miles. Russia-China alliance in the Indo-Pacific is a direct challenge to the U.S. As tensions soar, both sides are flaunting their alliances and combined military might in the region.
Oh, speaking of audio issues, Weon's got to get rid of that guy. He's terrible. But I think this is interesting. So you got Russia and China working together in the Japan Sea and then patrolling it, seemingly indefinitely. There didn't seem to be an end to their patrol. So it's already a hot region. And now we got Russia and China over there. It really doesn't bode well for the timeline of getting Taiwan ready to defend itself.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what to make of this. I mean, there are military drills that happen all over the world. For example, a comparison could be the NATO drills that happen in the Baltic Sea. You know, they're close to Russia. They're joint drills. The patrols continue after the drills. And now it seems like you've got a very comparable thing happening in the Sea of Japan with China and Russia, which, you know, a major portion of the Sea of Japan borders Russia. So they're well within their rights to be in this area. It's just going to be seen as a provocation if these joint patrols aren't something that have happened in the past. I don't know that they haven't happened in the past.
I'm sure they have, but it's interesting because of the region and the proximity to Taiwan. I think it's one of the reasons why Trump this week decided to, and I got a clip about it, scramble some nuclear submarines closer to the region as well. They claim it was because of a comment made by the ex-Russian president. But there's a lot that's going on where it's kind of it's less tense, or at least it feels less tense than it's been. But there's been some moving of the risk pieces, if you will.
Yes, the subs reminded me of the B-2 Spirit bombers that were deployed to the Indian Ocean.
Diego
and then,
Santiago or whatever it was.
Yes, and then recalled, and then a few weeks later we got the bombing of Iran. Now there were several things in between those events, but the nuclear sub deployment appears to be a similar tactic of, swinging what you've got around the globe to say, look at us, we're serious.
The BSD. Yeah, let's play this clip here, and just for context sake.
President Trump issuing new warnings to Russia and repositioning 2 U.S. nuclear submarines after what he calls highly provocative statements by Russia's former president. Meantime, President Trump has given Vladimir Putin just 1 more week to negotiate peace with Ukraine or face tough new sanctions. Here's ABC's chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, in a rare and extraordinary warning to Russia, President Trump ordering 2 U.S. nuclear submarines to the region.
A threat was made, and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people.
That threat Trump was talking about, a post on social media from the former Russian president about unleashing Russia's nuclear arsenal. Trump saying he repositioned the submarines just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that, adding words can often lead to unintended consequences. The war of words only escalating since Trump took office. And so has the war in Ukraine, the war President Trump had said he would end in the first 24 hours of his presidency.
Oh, got to throw that in
More
there.
than 6 months later, It has only gotten worse.
Failed.
And President Trump's patience is growing thin, now threatening new sanctions on Russia in the coming days.
Russia, I think it's disgusting what they're doing. I think it's disgusting.
The president did not say what kind of nuclear submarines he deployed to the region, but the U.S. already has nuclear ballistic missile subs circling the globe. We were aboard the USS Maine in 2022 when the commander of submarine forces told us Russian subs are always being watched.
We know when there's Russians underway at all times. We track that very, very closely.
This may all be saber-rattling, but it is a very large saber. Nuclear-armed submarines are the most deadly, destructive warships on the planet. Whit?
Martha Raddatz for us tonight. Thank you.
Uh-oh, Russians underway. Let's track them.
And that goes both ways.
Of course it goes both ways.
We know where their subs are.
We know where we are too.
Yeah.
All the time. Day in
So
and day night. Day out.
You have to wonder why announce this in this way unless you're just going to explain it as, well, that's Donald Trump for you.
And that's kind of what they did. He said he was going to end it in 24 hours. It's been 6 months. Bail. He's moving nuclear subs, the most deadly nuclear sub that exists. Anything with a nuclear missile on it is probably the most deadly version of whatever that is.
Yes. Now, we also have to remember, and this is something that we identified back during the first exchange between Iran and Israel a little while ago. Most anything that we see in the public regarding military movement or military action, its sole purpose is to boost morale for people at home. It's nothing more than posturing and kabuki theater for the domestic population. And the classic example was Iran shooting their missiles at Israel in the first exchange and letting the U.S. know, and therefore letting Israel know that they were going to be shooting the missiles and where they were going to be firing the missiles toward.
And some of them
just
still got
a
through.
Saving face. Not necessarily in the first tranche.
In that attack, when they were going to respond to Israel, like you're talking about like a year ago, pretty much.
Yes.
When they said, hey, they're coming. Some of the missiles did get through, and I think that was what highlighted the fact that the Iron Dome is not as great as it once was, or is not as great as it's been proposed to be.
Which could have been part of the calculus from Iran in the first place. Hey, we told them these were coming, and they still couldn't stop them, which was made clearly evident in the latest exchange between Iran and Israel a few months ago.
And then, Russia has, we brought this 2 weeks ago, I think, Russia cracked the strategy when it comes to dealing with these anti-missile systems that just overwhelm them and use dummy payloads that look exactly like the bombs. And there you are. You've got the perfect strategy of consistently uh, overwhelming the missile system and then landing your actual missiles right on site.
Yes, seemingly a very effective tactic.
And now Trump wants to
So,
piss away a ton of money on a Golden Dome. So just as all these other systems are showing their weaknesses.
yeah, a day late and a dollar short.
Right.
But thinking about this movement of strategic nuclear submarines in the context of this war party kabuki theater, it makes you wonder how much of this is Trump saving face and just trying to keep the headline momentum going. Of Trump is doing something else this week, and we're really showing the rest of the world who's boss. Look at our nuclear tubes.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me really wishes that it was something that was less expensive to make headlines.
Well, that's the thing. They're going to be moving anyway. It's not like these submarines are ever docked for extended periods of time.
I think we kind of intensified the strategy. I don't know if it's still going on, but do you recall that we used to move nukes around via train around the country pretty much 24/7?
Yes.
Are we still doing that?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that lately.
Nor have I. Nor do I. Huh. Hmm. All right. Well, that was about the nuclear scramble. We had China, Russia moving. Apparently, China is putting a rare earth mineral squeeze on the United States. Did you hear about this?
I did. I saw a headline about it, and I saved the headline, but it got lost in the bottom of the pile, and I didn't get back to it. Now, I had some thoughts about it when I saw it, but I'd be interested to hear your presentation of it before I flesh those thoughts out.
Sure. I'll just play a clip. It's from CNBC, so it's from a business angle, and they talk about the specific rare earth minerals that they are, or at least what they're intended for, that are getting squeezed here. So I'll play this.
Welcome back to Squawk. China reportedly squeezing the supply of critical minerals it supplies to Western defense companies. Wall Street Journal reporting that China began letting more rare earths flow when trade tensions cooled back in June, but now supplies of minerals specifically used for defense, I should say, have remained tight. Reports say that prices of some key minerals have now increased 5 or 6 times. Yesterday on CBS's Face the Nation, U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer said that recent trade talks in Sweden between the U.S. and China focused on those rare earth minerals. He said the countries are about halfway towards getting the flow of minerals back to where it was before China began curbing supplies.
I don't understand why China would send us anything if we were going to be using them for defense or military purposes. I mean, maybe the market's too good to say no, but it seems like it's pretty clear who China's number one competitor is. Why would you arm us with these, or give us the materials we need to make defensive or offensive military weapons?
Because there's no prospect of real war.
In their eyes?
Yeah.
That's a good thought. Really extinguishes, the fourth turning and the 2030 talking points that we've been mentioning for the past couple of months. But that's a possibility.
Well, you can have a major turning without a global bloodletting.
That's true. We did talk about that too.
If China believes that they will, by policy and diplomacy, overtake us as an economic power, they've no interest in war.
Well, no.
And they're probably, the assumption they're making is that we wouldn't attack them on an economic foundation or an economic cause for war.
I don't think we would.
They're
We
probably
would attack
banking
them
on the
economically, I think, but we would not attack them militarily, I would
right,
say.
and this goes to the discussion of the posturing with Russia and with BRICS of they're probably preparing for that.
Who's preparing
And
for
if
that?
it can further China, and if it can further their economic interests, then they're going to keep trading precious minerals with us. Um, these materials that they have a control over, if it can benefit them in another realm, they're going to keep trading them with us. They're probably getting a good price, as you mentioned. And the calculus is probably that they can withstand any economic sanction, or that they're working toward a place where they can withstand economic sanction once the U.S. realizes that something has to be done about China overtaking them as the economic superpower of the world.
Well, I think they're probably looking right now at what the West, Europe and America has been able to do to Russia's economy right now, and it's a kind of a positive sign for China because Russia's economy is actually doing a lot better than any of the Western economies, and that does lead into a little bit of a segment that I have here about how long is a Wall Street Journal report? How long can Russia be a war economy for? And I think it's kind of interesting. And so I'll play this
A
first one.
very long time.
Sort of, yeah. On a timeline where these next couple of years are very important. Yeah, I would say so. Here's the intro clip, and it's kind of funny.
Despite more than 3 years of war, huge military expenses, and waves of sanctions, Russia's economy appears to be thriving.
Хотите батоны, а хотите дроны.
But as President Trump threatens harsh economic sanctions,
We just don't see any progress being made.
and cracks begin to show, how long can it last?
War has been a huge stimulus for the Russian economy, but they can't continue doing this forever. The reality is they're likely to run out of money.
Since launching its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Moscow has ramped up its military spending.
If we go back to 2022, Russian defense spending was about $50 billion a year. They are now spending close to $150 billion a year on their military.
As the war continues, President Trump has vowed to turn up the economic pressure on Moscow, threatening tariffs and secondary sanctions if a ceasefire isn't reached.
Russia could be so rich right now. Instead, they spend all their money on war. They spend everything on war and killing people, and it doesn't make sense.
But Russia has shown it can adapt to economic pressure. Since launching its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it has become the most sanctioned major economy on the planet.
We had statements from Western leaders like turning the ruble to rubble. This was intended to bring the Russian economy to a complete halt. It was meant to make the continuation of the war completely unpalatable.
Despite this, in 2024, Russia's economy outpaced the growth of most advanced nations, including the US.
Yeah. Oh,
That was not the Wall Street Journal, was it?
no, that was, I added that a little bit towards the end. But the idea that we're going to levy more sanctions, and that's what the news headlines have been about this, 50 days, that was then 10 or 12 days, which, I mean, if you're doing, I feel like Trump knows this as a marketing person. You give a day, 12 days. You don't give 10 or 12 days. That's weak, in my opinion. And that happens to be Friday. This Friday is going to be that 12-day mark that we're speaking of. But the response is we're going to levy more sanctions. Oh, the sanctions haven't worked to date, and their economy is actually growing faster and better than all the other economies in the world right now. It's what's interesting is, so it's kind of like, despite these sanctions, they're still doing better, but how they're doing it, I thought was quite interesting. If you trust the Wall Street Journal, do you have any inkling of how Russia's economy is thriving during this war? It's I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint because it is interesting. It's something that we were critical of Joe Biden doing during his administration.
Selling gas reserves?
Bingo.
There was a deep economic contraction in 2022. It was 2% of GDP. And by the way, that's about the same as the impact of COVID on the Russian economy. But what's interesting is that they bounced back very, very quickly.
Analysts say Russia was able to avoid the impact of current sanctions by reorienting its economy.
The EU was lost as an export market almost entirely. The two big export markets for Russia are China and India. Effectively, they have reorientated towards the export of fuels to China and India. Because that reorientation was possible, that's one of the reasons the sanctions haven't really bit in as much as we might expect.
In addition, Moscow turned its economic focus on supplying its war effort in Ukraine, with even the most unlikely companies focusing on war. Russian state TV broadcast a segment about a bread factory that swapped dough for drones.
Они еще пахнут свежим хлебом.
They're spending a tremendous amount of money on armaments. So there's been the expansion of the military-industrial complex. That's hoovered up labour. So we've seen unemployment in Russia actually fall to a 30-year low.
Russia has largely been able to sustain these high levels of spending thanks to its oil and gas sector, which makes up around 20% of Russia's GDP. But analysts warn this can't last forever.
By rights, Russia should have a budget surplus at the moment. That surplus should be going into their national wealth fund. What we've seen is that they're spending far more than they're bringing in. And the way they are supplementing that is by running down their remaining reserves. So at the present burn rate, we see them running out at about 2030.
About 2030, which now feeds into the fourth turning theory. If Russia's nearing this 2030 deadline where their strategic oil reserves are going to get run down, it would make sense that before that occurs, something big has to happen. Like peace, maybe, or a global conflict. I'm not too bullish on global conflict, but it is a possible option.
Well, this explains why we've seen Trump talking tough on India.
Yeah, with the sanctions, because they're the ones that are buying oil, and for a long time they were buying oil, repackaging, and selling it to us,
selling it to the EU.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny. And the big thing is there's the next steps clip in here that I'll play, but the big thing is what are some possibilities for quickening that 2030 timeline? And to me, it would be supplying India with oil, or at least being a better option for India with oil. The only problem is because of the ban on Russian oil in the EU and in the West in general, or the ban question mark where you can't straight up buy it directly from them, even though our cars are still burning Russian oil, the demand for Russian oil is kind of down, so the prices of Russian oil are down. So India and China are getting a hell of a steal when it comes to oil and oil production and oil prices.
There's an opportunity here. If Trump is thinking outside the box, there's an opportunity here to negotiate a deal between Saudi Arabia and India. And I think that's probably the best option because our oil here in the U.S. is a heavy crude where a lot of what comes out of Russia, as I understand it, and the Middle East is a sweet crude or a lighter crude, and it's easier to refine. Now, that's probably a gross oversimplification, but I think the concept holds where the path of least yes, I am a Chinese agent. The path of least resistance, the path of least resistance here is to convince India to meet Saudi Arabia halfway and vice versa, because historically, India hasn't done business with Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia likes to use flexible pricing arrangements where India prefers long-term fixed contracts. So if Trump could get between those two and negotiate a trade deal, it could upend Russia's long-term economic strategy. But I don't see much of another way to go about it. I don't think you're going to strong-arm India as the U.S. unless you start sending refined products to India virtually at a loss.
Yeah, something's got to give on the economic front. But it is interesting that, World War III currently is being fought with the dollar, with economics. And that's kind of how I view the scenario right now. It's like a cold World War III. But let's hear the next steps from the Wall Street Journal and round out the segment.
Well,
With President Trump threatening to come down hard on Russia.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, my whole system went haywire.
Before you do that, I just want to point something out. We've sort of bandied around this idea of a new Cold War and kind of laughed at it here and there because it doesn't seem like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of tension. But with the recent coverage of Cambodia and Thailand and some potential other conflicts coming about in the future, I mean, just take Ukraine and Russia as an example, as another example anyway. I think this is starting to classify more accurately as a Cold War. It's an active rearranging of the global political system and a tug of war for influence and power around the world without a major open conflict. This idea started to grow on me over the course of the week, and I think you could actually justify, and I think by the end of the year, maybe within a year, we'll either be saying, somebody didn't have the cards they thought they had, or there's no doubt we're in the midst of a second Cold War.
Oh, we're definitely. I mean, I would think it would be hard pressed to argue that we're not in a Cold War. I think the we're not in a Cold War, and Israel or the good guys teams are absolutely chalking up L's every day as we move on.
Okay, I'll let you continue your clip.
Perfect.
With President Trump threatening to come down hard on Russia, concerns are growing that this could have far-reaching consequences.
There's been a suggestion of 100% secondary tariffs. So those who buy from Russia, say buy Russian oil, would be hit with tariffs entering the US market.
This is India.
China and India are the main buyers of Russian oil. They collectively account for almost half of Russian exports. Let's imagine if they were to stop buying Russian oil completely. That would be catastrophic for the Russian economy. Russia looks to oil and gas receipts for anything from a third to half of its annual budget. More broadly, this would create a tremendous oil shock in the world. So the price of oil would rocket. It could be recession-inducing.
Trump's threats also come as cracks in Russia's economy are beginning to show.
Now, inflation has been high, but wage inflation has been even higher. So, if anything, the standard of living of Russians has improved. The problem, of course, is that this is not sustainable, that eventually Russia is going to hit the fiscal buffers.
Despite the economic risks, experts believe Russian President Vladimir Putin remains committed to his goal of seizing as much of Ukraine as possible, and that Russia will try to sustain its military economy for years to come as it eyes conflicts beyond Ukraine.
If you look at Russian defence expenditure, 2025 is likely to be a peak, but that's on the basis that at some point there will be a ceasefire. At that point, we'd expect defence spending to moderate. But we don't see spending going back to the 2022 or 2021 level. It's going to stay elevated. Russia would say that it still faces threats. It would argue that NATO is a threat, so they need to be prepared. I think they do understand that at some point this war will have to come to an end. But of course, politically, Russia is going to seek to do that on its own terms.
Oh, yeah. Bombs. There you have it. There you have it. Windows has decided to remap my global hotkey for when I start and pause clips. So, like, if I'm not actively in the window, I can hit global pause. Now it opens up Copilot, which it installed on my system without me wanting it. So, thank you, Windows.
That's unfortunate.
It is. It is. It's one of the reasons why Windows is an evil, evil, terrible thing, and everyone should use Linux.
Sure. Grandpa?
Yes. My grandfather was the biggest proponent of Linux. He goes, that Swedish guy is, or where, I don't remember, actually know where Linus is from. He's on it. He's on it. Follow his lead. All right.
So how do you see this shaking out?
This war? I do see Steve Witkoff.
Well, I was talking more about the short term, the oil supply, because to me, that is
the Cold War.
I think with the Wall Street Journal story, we can say that the immediate concern is Russia's ability to sell oil. And you could argue that it has been for a while, and that's been the undercurrent of this conflict. But it seems to be taking the lead as the issue in the spotlight economically.
Yeah. I don't know. I see Steve Witkoff going to Russia on this week, and I see nothing coming from Steve Witkoff going to Russia. I see the media spinning that and say, oh, Steve Witkoff accomplished nothing. We levy more tariffs on Russia, and it doesn't do anything because they're draining their strategic oil reserve by selling it. So, I don't know. I see the idea that we would levy 100% tariff on India. You know, India is supposed to be our backup to China. We're supposed to be friends with India while we're at an economic war with China. I don't know. I don't think that's a viable option. So I don't think the 100% tariff on India for buying Russian oil is going to be something that we're even considering. But who knows? How do you see it playing out?
I think we either make a deal where we satisfy India and cut off Russia's demand, or we try to bully India and drive them closer to neutrality, if not closer to Russia.
Which is what happens in the end.
Yeah. And I think that is positioning us for a bad time come 2027, 2030 range.
Right. When the quote-unquote everything's supposed to kick off. The official fourth turning. I feel like after 2008, everything is been shifted in the timeline a little bit. Like we were supposed to have a catastrophic economic meltdown in 2008, a recession. We did have a recession, but we were supposed to almost enter into depression, and we've been with quantitative easing, taking the pain pills and pushing it off and pushing it off. And now I don't know. I don't know if 2027. It certainly feels like all of these tensions. There's a new war breaking out every day. It's gotta break at some time. There's got to be some large scale event, but maybe that's just it. That's the new normal, and there's constant wars all the time, and we just constantly fight economic wars as opposed to hot wars.
Well, I think part of it is an endemic short-sightedness in the analysis of global events, and especially global events related to the American position, because it almost seems like we've grown accustomed to this time horizon of 5 to 7 years, everything's going to collapse. And the great example of this is the climate crisis. And now we've got it bubbling up with, well, in 5 to 7 years, there's no doubt we're going to have some kind of global conflict, and everyone's preparing for it. And I think the shortcoming of this kind of analysis is that it takes the current snapshot of the global situation and projects it out as if things don't change. And what really happens is that you have smaller events that release these pressures that build up. So you're not going to have a continual building of pressure for 5 or 7 years until something snaps. You'll have these deals that are made and concessions that are made that release a little bit of pressure here, a little bit of pressure there. And you may be right about it being the new normal, because what will happen in that case is 2027 will come, nothing major will occur, no major war, no global outbreak of violence and mass death. But the new time horizon for something awful happening will be 2030. And then we'll get to 2030, and there'll be some little things that happen here, some things that happen there. Things will change, and they may even change at a more rapid pace with some of the technological developments that are going to come about with robotics and computing. But they'll provide these pressure relief systems where we're always looking forward to the great happening, but we never get it because things are constantly changing and we're not accounting for the constant state of flux that things are in.
So are you in the nothing ever happens camp?
More firmly than ever.
Oh.
But I hate to say that, because I made a prediction last week that was woefully wrong about rates dropping.
You know, I'll tell you what, Eric PP was in our the MMO room, and you can go to chat.mmo.show to join that room. 5 minutes after the rate drop, and he goes, "Rates didn't move. John G. Do was wrong." That's what he did, and he and tempted me to play the John G. Do was wrong song, but I won't do that to you.
Well, you know, I was hopeful, but you know, Powell did not relent, and I think it would have been a watershed moment for unleashing American productivity for the next 6 to 12 months, productivity and market advancement. But at the same time, I thought about this, and when I'm wrong about something, I do sit down and think about it and kind of flesh it out and try to figure out where I went wrong. And I think it was just a problem of optimism. I was also looking at buying a house at the time, so there was some additional hope in there.
It's gonna drop.
Yes, said house was bought out from under us, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But you know, I think it was a problem of optimism. I got a little too optimistic about what could happen if rates dropped, and Powell is still focusing on the sticky inflation problem. And something that I hadn't considered before is that if he had dropped rates and the economy had started really blowing and going, as people say, when the economy heats...
Who says that?
Blowing and going? You never heard that one?
Nope.
It's a saying. It's a thing.
Okay. I'll believe you.
But if that had started and the economy had really heated up, it would have lent itself to an increase in rates. Because when the economy heats up, you raise interest rates to try to keep it from overheating, is the very simple analogy that's used. So he probably felt that momentum that would have been unleashed if he dropped rates and decided, well, we don't want to drop rates just to have to turn around and raise them because the economy starts to overheat in 6 months.
Well, you might find this interesting, and might be bode well for your house buying. But the Fed decision in December, polymarket odds, 75% are betting on a 25% basis point decrease in
December or September?
September,
Okay.
with 8% at 50% basis points. So at least 83% of the market thinks that there was going to be a drop in basis points. 19%, no change.
Yeah, and I think you'll start to see that being priced in between now and September, with the overall market sentiment being that way. But then you run the risk of if you're really looking at inflation and you're Powell and you decide inflation hasn't gone away, but 90% of the market thinks you're going to drop rates and you don't drop rates, you just think Donald Trump has been mad at you. And I know if you're Powell, you don't care, but still, it was just to make a point.
Too late, Powell. That's his name. That's what we're going to call him. Too late, Powell. He's too late. Always missing. Remember that diatribe from DJT? Yeah. But we'll see. That is interesting. An interesting discussion.
Well, before we move completely away from Russia, I have a couple of clips about Ukraine. And these tie in with our e-points that we discussed last week.
Oh, yeah.
Where the Ukrainian soldiers get a certain number of points for killing Russians, and then they can spend those points in a company store, essentially, to buy more and better gear.
Yep.
This is a clip about a military corruption scandal that came to light over the last few days in Ukraine. This is BBC Corruption Setup.
Authorities in Ukraine say they've arrested several politicians over the country's anti-corruption agencies uncovered what they call a large-scale bribery scheme in the purchase of drones and electronic warfare systems. The arrests were made nearly a week after President Zelensky decided not to curb these agencies' independence after nationwide protests. Zelensky spoke about the bribery scheme in his evening address. Let's take a listen.
Anti-corruption agencies have exposed one of the members of the Ukrainian parliament, as well as heads of district and city administrations and servicemen of the National Guard of Ukraine for bribery. Unfortunately, these were machinations involving the procurement of electronic warfare and FPV equipment. Absolutely immoral. There must be full and fair accountability for this.
It's funny, Zelensky's the one that said absolutely no third-party oversight over our corruption bill. And then when it passed, he goes, oh, man, we should have done that. I think they went back on it a little bit, but this is the stuff that's going to start coming out.
The next clip is actually going to address that, because that was my first thought as well, is you have him consolidate the corruption, I don't know, bureau, or whatever they call it, the corruption czar. And then you roll out this major corruption scandal against someone in your own party. It seemed like an effort to legitimize his consolidation of power in the face of widespread protests in Ukraine. But that doesn't really appear to be what happened. This is the Eurasia Democracy Initiative clip.
Well, Peter Zalmayev is the director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative. He gave his reaction to the latest bribery allegations.
He initiated this very ill-fated law that was voted for by the majority of his party in Congress. It passed, and then they had to backtrack after a huge outcry. People essentially turned out on the streets. It was yet another sort of revolution on the streets of Kyiv, the first one in time of war. And so Zelensky,
and probably the first natural one,
actually buckled under pressure. Now we're hearing allegations that one of his members of his party is involved in this yet another corruption scandal. This could not come at a worse time. Once again, as this law that I just mentioned was being passed, European allies put another tranche of aid to Ukraine on hold, once again, this allegation does nothing to get rid of this image of a hopelessly corrupt country that Ukraine unfortunately has. Zelensky has to deal with this very strongly, and it's definitely not by calling the head of one of these agencies to talk to him about this. Once again, this is a demonstration of the lack of independence on the part of these agencies, and Zelensky may be seen as using them now as a badge of sort of merit. Many questions about this, but once again, unless Ukraine puts its house in order, it will be losing the support and trust of its allies. Dealing with this corruption in the most ruthless manner is what the people now expect Zelensky to do.
Okay, what did you take away from that?
My takeaway is this information was being held for the right moment. And it's no coincidence that the day, if not 2 days, the day after Zelensky backs off of consolidating his corruption oversight, Stasi groups, whatever they are, you get this news of a member of his own party being wrapped up in a corruption scandal involving military weaponry and pricing, basically embezzlement is what it boils down to.
Yeah, the exact source of funds that are being received from foreign powers and foreign entities. That's where the corruption
So I wouldn't be
is occurring.
surprised if this is just something that Russia had up their sleeve and we're waiting for the right time to release it, and they're just trying to compound the pressure on Zelensky right now.
The regime change. There was a clip somewhere in a story somewhere where Zelensky was calling for regime change in Russia, and I think Russia's probably calling for similar things in Ukraine, but not as openly. But you almost have to wonder if the E-points thing is a natural evolution of this corruption in the misappropriation of military funds and military equipment.
I believe so.
Yeah, you think they had to develop a system in order to incentivize soldiers to fight better, but also to, I guess, efficiently distribute their military equipment to the people that need it the most, or the people that
Well, you could also view it as a layer of complexity to aid in washing funds, laundering funds.
Yeah, I never understood it. My nephews back in the day were Fortnite players, and you bought everything in Fortnite with E-bucks, but you converted real bucks to E-bucks in order to buy stuff in the game. And yeah, it was like, why wouldn't you just price the things in the game in nominal dollars, like real dollars, as opposed to having your own kind of currency? And it's always to mask the price of things, be able to increase the price of stuff kind of internally, as opposed to just putting actual physical dollars to it. You can now create a new currency that has absolutely no meaning until you decide it has meaning. So,
and tax it to whatever degree you want.
Right, exactly. So that's interesting. Hey, good point there. Good point indeed. I have been sitting on, while we're in Ukraine and Russia, I've been sitting on a clip about an extremist bill that Russia passed recently. Did you hear anything about the extremist bill in Russia?
Mm-mm.
Well, it kind of plays well with what we've been talking about, how the European Union and the West in general has been using different symbols like the pride flag and whatnot to promote this Western ideology, this Western wokeism, and to expand the ideals in these kind of countries that have been standoffish, like Hungary, or what's the one we were talking about last week? Georgia, those countries. They're using the whole kind of gay pride issue as a source of stress in order to get these kind of Western kind of values enforced in these countries that aren't necessarily aligned with the East or the West. And so Russia has recently passed an extremist law And I think I've already given away the kind of groups that are labeled as extremists, but I'll go ahead and play it anyway. I think it should be playing.
Russia is tightening censorship that could have sweeping ramifications for digital privacy and the fate of WhatsApp in the country. Lawmakers on Tuesday approved legislation imposing fines on people reading and searching online for content that the authorities deem extremist. The move has drawn criticism from some pro-government figures as well as opposition activists. Boris Nedyedstin is an opposition politician.
It creates real problems for tens of millions of people. Let's ban WhatsApp, let's ban Wikipedia, let's ban searching for some words on the internet. That's just Orwell stuff. We will be resisting.
Opponents say the fines the legislation prescribes of up to $63.82 could open the door to tougher charges and penalties. The Ministry of Justice's list of extremist material stretches to more than 500 pages. Entities banned in Russia for carrying out extremist activities include late Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny's anti-corruption fund, as well as what Moscow calls the international LGBT movement, and US tech giant Meta Platforms. On Friday, lawmakers who regulate the IT sector said Meta-owned WhatsApp should prepare to leave the Russian market. The new legislation targets people who knowingly search for extremist materials online, including through virtual private networks that millions of people across Russia use to bypass censorship and access banned content. Speaking on Duma TV, head of Duma's Information and Technology Committee, Sergei Boyarsky.
Let me be clear. This bill targets a very specific group, those actively seeking extremist content because they're already on the brink of extremism.
Officials said law enforcement will have to prove that users intended to view extremist materials and that merely accessing platforms would not be penalised. But it was not immediately clear how the authorities would determine intent in an online search.
It's Russia, man. You make up the rules as you go along. Of course, it's not immediately clear. Yeah, so the West is, actively using pride as a way, as a foot in the door in these countries to expand this Western idea of liberalism and freedom. And Russia goes, you know what? That's an extremist group now. And quite frankly, I have nothing, I hold nothing against gay people. There are gay people that I love in this life, and this has nothing to do with gay people at all. It's using the symbol of pride and the LGBTQ movement in order to, promote your larger idea of liberation and democracy. And Russia's saying that's an extremist group. And quite frankly, I think they're kind of right a little bit. Most normal gay people don't even identify with the LGBTQ movement and pride. So that was just a quick one.
I don't know if I would say most.
A lot. There are a lot of people that see it for what it is and no longer feel like they are representative by the movement or represented by the movement. A lot of gay people are saying, yeah, the gay people are now the straight people of LGBTQ. They're like normies now.
Yeah.
There's exceptions to it. There's people that are gay and they're all for pride and we must raise all voices. And I don't know. I remember I was on a camp, a canoe, not a canoe trip, but like one of those things you rent a canoe and you paddle down the river for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
With my girlfriend at the time, and there was this kind of gay couple that was paddling down the river next to us. And I was like, look, we're like Pocahontas. Don't we look like Pocahontas? And they mumbled something about, white savior story, white savior complex story. And that's kind of the idea of the extremist kind of content that comes into it, where now even simple stories like Pocahontas become this metaphor of like, we need to eradicate the world of white savior complex stories. That's not pride. That's just like general liberalism general progressivism, and that's kind of what the LGBT movement has started to symbolize. Less so of the actual sexuality or all the other things that are in there, and more so of this now political identity of progressivism, and that's what we're seeing in Europe, and that's I think what Russia's trying to ban.
Well, they're tools for the conveyance of a radical agenda. And I wouldn't be surprised, and you shouldn't be surprised either, if at the same time Russia is banning these things at home, they're funding them in America.
What was that last thing you said?
I said I wouldn't be surprised, and you shouldn't be surprised either, if Russia is banning these things at home, but funding them in America.
Oh, absolutely. Just like they funded a lot of the outrage surrounding the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests. They made fake groups and whatnot.
Specifically, there's a very funny reference that gets brought up all the time online where the Islamic Republic, maybe the IRG of Iran, or maybe just Khomeini of Iran, thanked George Floyd for his sacrifice. Tweeted in support of George Floyd, and you obviously want to
stir division and chaos,
stir the pot
in your enemy's lands. Of course, it's right out of the art of war. Don't interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake, but you might add to the noise and pretend to be your enemy and further the mistake. That kind of stuff. Yeah, it's hybrid warfare at the end of the day. That's what we're describing. That's the whole concept of all of these protests against the right wing in Europe. The counter protests are gay pride flags. It is information war. It's 5G. It's stir the pot, stir the division.
Yep.
So, just food for thought there. Cool.
Well, I think this would be an interesting time to slide on down to the Mediterranean and take a little short trip over to the Holy Land. I've got a shot and chaser couple of clips out of Israel.
Okay.
And I think this is one of the more interesting things to me. It's actually what I was going to write about in the newsletter, but I decided to get some sleep instead. So this, if you go in the Israel folder, I have the shot and chaser clips, and you can play those in as quick of succession as you want to. If you want to discuss the first one after we play it, feel free. But it's shot and chaser for a reason.
In the past week, EU countries have made a series of moves against Israel amid concerns about imminent famine in the Gaza Strip. France, the UK and Malta have all declared their intention to recognise the state of Palestine in September. The Netherlands has imposed travel bans on 2 Israeli cabinet ministers. France, Germany and the UK have begun work on a European-led Gaza peace plan. And in a first, the European Commission has proposed partially suspending Israel from its Horizon Europe research programme. On top of that, the EU is under increased pressure to impose economic sanctions on Israel, with 40 cross-party MEPs urging the EU to suspend its trade deal with Israel and sanction members of its government. This all comes amid heightened concerns about the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, with an alert published on Tuesday by the UN-backed Food Security Initiative, the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, stating that the worst-case scenario of famine is now unfolding in Gaza.
That's a shot. Let's chase it quickly.
Overnight, there was a significant development about the war in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu briefed political journalists in Israel, telling them he plans to order the military to completely occupy the Gaza Strip.
Oh.
Again, Israel is planning to completely occupy the Gaza Strip, according to reports overnight. This is a significant development, and it comes as the war grinds on nearly 700 days in. And there are still 50 hostages in Hamas captivity.
How?
20 of them are believed to be alive.
Where? Where are they? It's not that big.
Including Eviatar David, who we saw that disturbing video of late last week. I spoke with his brother, who is calling for his release. We're also talking with UN officials and Palestinian civilians, everyone involved, to try to get an understanding of where this story goes from here amid these new reports overnight that Israel plans to occupy the entirety of the Gaza Strip. Be sure to follow and share for more updates.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Got it. So, Israel waits for all of Europe to condemn their actions before they release the final plan of, we're just going to occupy it.
No. I think Europe knew that they were close enough to the end of the game to plant their flag on the Palestinian side to show that they are standing up for the oppressed. They're standing in line with Western values, which aren't only about LGBTQ rights, but any oppressed group, which the oppressed group here are the Palestinians. So the Western leadership of these second-rate countries, and yes, second-rate because of the quality of your leadership, and I want you to seethe even harder as you think about Donald Trump when I tell you your leaders are second-rate. Because your leaders in these Western countries that did this, Germany, France, UK, Canada, among others, you waited until you got the green light that this was almost over and decided to plant your flag in the progressive side of the field, the oppressed, that you stand with the oppressed people because you knew it was almost over and it was safe to do it. I don't care if you don't cry for Palestinian children. I don't care if you didn't cry over October 7th. What I care about is when people's leaders, the people that they elect, prove themselves to be nothing more than sniveling cowards with these kind of proclamations about recognizing the Palestinian state when they know that this is almost over and it's a safe time to do it.
Now we're really mad. Now that everyone's dead there, we're mad. We know for a fact some of those were women and children. I mean, the photos every day are coming out of the zombie people that are so malnourished, their skin and bones. And it's like, it is the Holocaust. It's the same imagery that you saw out of Auschwitz, you're seeing out of Gaza now. So, yeah, I agree with you. It is spineless of the West and the Western leaders to, now that it's over, wag their finger at Israel. So,
yeah, and this is an indication to me that this is over. It's done. There's going to be, it's not like it ended yesterday or will end tomorrow, but in the story arc of Gaza, we're approaching the end quickly.
I'm with you. I got some news out of Syria. Speaking of Israel and the region, Israel's neighbor here, Syria. The Druze are having another clash, and the strategy that we laid out of Syria becoming kind of a rump state. For those that don't know, a rump state is kind of different political powers within the state. You can think of like modern day Afghanistan or Iraq, where different sections of the country are held by different powers. We heard a little bit about the Druze, I think 2 weeks ago. Now, another thing flared up with the Druze again, and then and this is going to be in kind of the southwest corner of Syria, and then the Kurds that are in the northeast corner of Syria. So I'll play the Druze crash. It is I believe, an AI clip, so I apologize for that, but it is pretty interesting. Oh yeah, war.
A nation on the edge. From the smouldering hills of Swaida to the sniper-lined alleys of Deir el-Zor. And now, Israel striking deep inside Syrian soil. As Syria bleeds from within, outside forces close in. Is this the collapse, or just the beginning of a new war? Southern Syria is once again aflame with sectarian violence, as renewed clashes in the Druze majority province of Swaida left 4 dead and fractured an already tenuous ceasefire. Fighting erupted on August 3rd between Druze armed groups and Syrian government forces near the strategic Tal Hadid area and the city of Thala. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported the deaths of 3 security personnel and 1 local fighter. Tal Hadid, perched on elevated ground, is a crucial military post, its control conferring tactical dominance over nearby regions. The recent battle marks another chapter in a simmering conflict that exploded in July when Druze militias clashed with government-backed Sunni Bedouins. That confrontation, which claimed an estimated 1,400 lives and displaced tens of thousands, shattered any illusion of stability. Although a ceasefire temporarily paused the bloodshed, friction remained. Syrian state media has blamed Druze fighters loyal to spiritual leader Hikmat al-Hijri for provoking the August 3rd violence.
Okay, so there's a rundown of another Druze clash. Now, the Druze are their own kind of sect of Islam. Some people don't even consider it Islam, mostly within Islam. And they were defended by Israel. And one of the reasons they're defended by Israel is because they are kind of this weird form of Islam, and there happen to be the closest group and community to the Israeli border, and some Druze people in the Druze community actually live in Israel, and so that's kind of one of the factions, and one of the reasons why Israel kind of drew the line and said no Syrian troops south of Damascus within your own country of Syria. So al-Jilani, the ISIS-linked leader that rose up after al-Assad was pulled out, is now having some serious tests, and not just with the Druze, but also with the Kurds. And if you recall, one of the thoughts behind al-Jilani's rise to power was that Tayyip Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, funded the HTS group that al-Jilani led to overthrow al-Assad. And the idea was that he was going to merge the Kurds into the army. Well, there's tensions now in that development as well. So the SDF, a.k.a. the Kurds, in Syria are fighting with al-Jilani. And I'll play this.
Amid the spiraling conflict in the south, Syria's Kurdish-led forces are navigating a different kind of battlefield, one defined by shifting alliances and fragile promises. On August 3rd, the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, or the SDF, confirmed the deaths of 5 members following an Islamic State attack on a checkpoint in Deir el-Zor on July 31st. Once the main US-backed force in the war against IS, the SDF was instrumental in dismantling the group's caliphate in 2019. But as IS seeks to regroup, it is targeting regions like Deir el-Zor, seized by IS in 2014 and retaken by the Syrian army in 2017, with renewed ferocity. The loss of SDF personnel is more than a tactical setback. It's a reminder of the volatile terrain Syria still grapples with. It comes as the SDF's relationship with the Damascus interim government faces its own trial. On August 2nd, just days before announcing its losses in Deir el-Zor, the SDF traded accusations with Syria's defense ministry over a rocket strike near the city of Manbij. Damascus accused the SDF of targeting a military outpost, injuring 4 soldiers and 3 civilians. State media condemned the attack as reckless. The SDF denied initiating it and claimed it was responding to shelling from pro-government factions.
Our forces were responding to an unprovoked artillery assault targeting civilian populated areas with more than 10 shells by factions operating within Syrian government ranks.
The skirmish throws into question a landmark unity deal signed in March. Designed to reintegrate Syria's fragmented military forces and political institutions, the agreement aimed to bring Kurdish-led units under Damascus's command. But the fine print remains contested. The SDF wants its forces to be incorporated as a bloc, preserving its command structure. Damascus, in contrast, insists on individual enlistment, effectively dismantling SDF's autonomy. The ambiguity surrounding implementation is now fueling distrust.
There you go. So Syria already...
Chaos.
Yeah, absolute chaos. Syria already existed in a state of chaos 24/7. Al-Julani came, and the Western media oddly held him up and praised him as this reformed Islamist that's going to unite Syria. And as you can see, both on the east and the west of his country, he's dealing with this internal conflict. Now, because that chaos is pre-existing, it would be easy to say, "Oh, that's just how it naturally is." I think that it is exactly how it naturally is, but it's also easy to kind of tip the scale one way or the other when you want to stir up chaos in Syria. And I think that is kind of Israel's goal right now, is to make sure that Syria remains destabilized and not able to pose a serious threat to Israel. And I think that's what they're doing. I think they're involved at least a little bit, if not igniting these tensions off. But Al-Julani is not going to be... He is not the leader that the West had raised him up in the media to be.
The question to me is, can Israel occupy Gaza and seize this large amount of territory in Syria?
I don't know if their goal is to seize that amount of... I mean, eventually it is to seize that territory in Syria, if you believe in certain plans that Israel has. But I don't know if the short time being is to seize that land, but just to continue to destabilize Syria in the range. They've kind of claimed that, they've got Druze on their side of the border, and then there's Druze on the Syrian side of the border. So would they do something like Russia did, where Russia's like, well, these are Russians, and they go in and annex it? That would be interesting. I think the the appetite for Israel and their shenanigans is decreasing. But as we've seen, the Western leaders only kind of have these symbolic after statements when it comes to dealing with Israel. I don't think that anything will ever happen to the Israeli leaders after this whole conflict in Gaza is resolved.
No, I don't either. I think they're untouchables.
Pretty much indeed. All right, that was Rump State, Syria. Good times are had in the desert. You got anything, or do you think we should thank
The rest of mine is domestic.
All right, I've got domestic as well. Let me just do a quick peruse and make sure nothing fits here. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Should we cut it off and do domestic in the second half?
I think so. I think that'd be nice.
Let's do just that.
Millennial Media.
Offensive. You are riding along in the Offensive live every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Central. For our European listeners, the Central Time a lot of times correlates with the Chicago time. Mostly always Central and Chicago go hand in hand. So whatever time it is in Chicago is whatever time 5:30 p.m. is. And so I've got a few emails asking about what Central is, and that's what that means. But the Millennial Media Offensive, we deconstruct the week's happenings. We look at the media. We take real media. We provide real analysis, and we have fun doing it. So it's real entertainment. And that's a three-part slogan that John came up with himself. But so far, I've been the only one using it. That being said, we don't rely on advertisers. We don't accept money from large pharma and compromise our values. Instead, we rely directly from our listeners and for the value that they provide. You heard it doesn't have to just be money. It can be information like the email we read earlier. It can be artwork. It can be the end-of-show music that Potty Mouth has been supplying us with lately. It's all value, and it's all very much appreciated. But if you don't have artistic abilities or information and you just enjoy the show, I would highly recommend you go to mmo.show/donate and find out a way that you can give back to some value to the show. Much appreciated. As people are pointing out, my Raspberry Pi and a Dell Optiplex case has been struggling this evening with the live stream. So perhaps provide some funding so we can get on a proper server and not my my local area network. We always like to start off by thanking the person that supplied the artwork from the previous week, and I don't even have to look at who it was. I can tell just by looking at it that this is a wolf piece, which features a German flute playing Pepe the Frog, aged with his driver's hat and all.
Yes.
And some fun font. It's a striking piece. You see it and it makes you stop. You're like, what is this about?
It's one of those pieces that has a lot of empty space, but it works.
I agree. There's a defined center point. The font is similar and it's there, but the main focus is the Pepe, the middle-aged Pepe playing the German flute. And it's very well done. I always enjoy it.
Yes, as he reclaims the land.
Yes, he returns to the land and, when questioned about the Holocaust, deflects. The best. It's a great piece. Thank you very much, Wolf, for submitting that. We haven't gotten any art for this evening. We got a couple in the old spare room, but we always prefer nice, fresh art for our listeners and producers out there worldwide. Okay, there, we'll move on to some people that came in that went to mmo.show/donate and hit the donate button, and it's always appreciated. And we'll start off at the top of the list by the man none other than Weirdo coming in through Cash App. And wow, Weirdo added a 3 to his usual $3.33, and he sends in $33.33 and says OTO.
On the offensive.
Which is what OTO stands for. Thank you very much, Weirdo. That's much appreciated. And always welcome. Thank you very much. Sam S. of Burblandia came in through PayPal, and he sent in $21, and he says, stay, OTO.
On the offensive.
A lot of people are staying on the offensive. Thank you. Cousin Vito came in via PayPal with $20 and says, V for V, y'all. Cousin Vito. And we say, thank you, Cousin Vito. That's much appreciated. Emily the Fed came in with her monthly reoccurring donation through PayPal of $11, and we always got to do it for her.
You are not
a Fed. Ethan C. came in through PayPal with $10 with his monthly reoccurring. Much appreciated. Thank you, Ethan. Fairvolt T came in with $8.08, and he says, let Bob help with your mic fund, fellas. And please call out JCD as a Fed. There's no way the Curry One microphone did not make it to market without obstruction. Love what you do. Stay OTO. Fair Volti.
On the offensive.
Thank you. JCD, you're a Fed.
Fed.
There you go. Thank you. Sir Cascadia came in through Cash App for $5 and says, well, looky here, Bucky. Sir Cascadia is up to it again. He done donated $5 whole, dang it. That's about 20 Finn marks in 1980. Sir Cascadia, PDX. Thank you, sir. And then finally, Nlog, the nail lord of Gaylord, came in through Venmo with $5, and he says, Nlog here, OTO.
On the offensive.
You were looking for the correct term last week for Arabic script. My battle buddy, Richard Richardson, always calls it worm writing. He still streams for free, and he has not donated. Wow, what a Richard Richardson. That's funny. Worm writing. I like that. I like that a lot.
That is funny.
What was the, was it Arabic, Aramaic?
Arabic.
Arabic. All right, very well. Worm writing, according to Richard Richardson. So thank you very much. That does it for our list of fiat donators. I love a long list like this. It's very heartening. So thank you very much.
Yes, and I have a list of people who sent in boosts through a modern podcast app. They're sending little bits of Bitcoin in to support the show. And the top of the list is CoinCat with 4,250 Satoshis with no note. Then Trail Chicken comes in with 3,330. That is from last week. I will just look for the date that I need to cut these off.
I don't
Man,
know
I
what
thought this was going to be a really good list.
I don't know why yours is showing something different. I'd go ahead and hit the refresh.
Oh, I did that.
You're on boost.mmo.show/stats.
Boost.mmo.show/stats.
Yep.
Okay, that is a different list. I was going to boost.mmo.show.
No, you can't go there. That's the old one.
Well, I didn't know there was a new one.
You said you saw this website and you said sex. You were like, this is great.
But it was boost.mmo.show that I went to go to it, or you just sent me the link.
Oh, you were hitting the legacy stats thing.
Yes.
I gotcha.
I'm a legacy guy.
Yeah, don't do that. I'll fix it for next week.
Okay, so top of the list, DJW comes in with 1,976 Satoshis and says, been listening for a while and I still can't spell millennial. He says, millennial. Good thing I'm Gen X. Very easy to spell. My terrestrial name is Dan also. Check out my profile on onlydans.com.
Oh, hell yeah.
OTO and y'all be good. Signed, your favorite Gen X ally, the dirtiest jersey. You've got some competition for favorite Gen X ally. I'll just let you know. More competition than you might think.
We have a lot of Gen X on the offensive.
Yes, I think we're a novelty to them.
I agree.
You know,
these kids aren't gay.
Then Bully Steed comes in with 1,111 Satoshis and says MMO making history and geography relevant and entertaining. MMO OTO. Thank you, Bully Steed.
Thank you.
Everyday J, new name, comes in with 1,101 Satoshis and says OTO just beats out C. Brooklyn, who only sent 1,000 Satoshis with no note. Thank you, C. Brooklyn. Sanda Singh comes back after a while with 200 Satoshis. No note. Typical. Thank you, Sanda Singh. Noster Gang says dang with 101 Satoshis. Maybe try. And then sends what looks like some keys from Noster.
Yeah, it's how the profiles show up, just in raw text form, I guess. So those are Noster profiles.
To reach out to for help.
Yeah.
I got you.
I will
Thank
say,
you.
I
Thank you,
looked into
Noster Gang.
Zap Streams this week, and I talked to a couple of people, and they said Zap Stream is garbage, but they recommended another Noster live stream service that I might try this week.
Hey, always pulling the thread.
That's right.
Okay, Sir Jared of South Burien comes in last on the list with 100 Satoshis. Thank you all for your Satoshis. Thank you for your dollars. Thank you for your information, for your jingles, for your artwork, for your value. That's all we ask. We don't charge for the show. We don't run ads. We would never run ads. We would put the show behind a paywall before we would start running ads. I can tell you that. And we're not even close to doing either one. But in order for us to continue this, we need to know that it's valuable. And the only way that we know it's valuable is if you hear it and return that value to us in some way. By the way, Eric PP is currently streaming with 5,431 Satoshis so far. Eric, I appreciate you keeping my feet to the fire with my predictions. You know, I could be cowardly and not make predictions, but I enjoy the thrill of being wrong sometimes.
You know, Eric Peepee's the reason why you have a list to read. He's the one that created the webhooks that allow us to have our website display our boosts and streaming statistics. That's his doing. So
I mean, I don't know why he isn't up for a Nobel Peace Prize.
He should be. I think more people knew about it.
It's a great innovation.
I personally love it. What are we doing here, John?
Well, we're doing a podcast.
Yes, and
which we're doing it for free. and usually it entails talking about geopolitics and sometimes domestic issues. And that's what we're going to talk about in the second half of the show.
You want to get into it?
I think we should.
Let's get into it.
Get it on.
All right. Since I kind of dominated that first half with domestic, what do you got? What do you got kicking off? Domestic, international.
I have
Head's
an
all-
AI. What?
My head's all over the place. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Mine is too a little bit tonight. I have an AI segment for
Oh, boy.
domestic, and it folds into another topic. But I don't want to give away the punchline here. Basically, this is one of those segments where we're going to see how far AI has come. And we've done these before where you have the conversations between two artificial intelligences.
Yeah.
And you kind of get a glimpse into how well they can carry on a conversation. This is one of those. And the first clip on the list is, of course, interview start.
All right, if you want to share anything or have questions, I'm all ears. Just let me know.
Joaquin, it's Jim Acosta. I was wondering if you could tell me what happened to you.
I appreciate your curiosity. I was taken from this world too soon due to gun violence while at school. It's important to talk about these issues so we can create a safer future for everyone. What would you like to know more about?
Joaquin, I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin. We definitely need more of that.
I'm so glad you think so. More kindness and understanding can truly make a difference. Together, we can create a world where everyone feels safe and supported. Anything else on your mind?
God, why is his cadence so bad?
Because it's AI.
I know, but like, there's better AI with better cadence there. Like,
Yes, I know there is. And the joke here isn't the quality of the AI that's being trotted out in this scenario. I don't know if you recognize just how morbid this is yet.
oh, I did.
But
I was taken too early because of gun violence. I heard it right
Yes.
away.
Yes. Now, the joke is that this is actually Jim Acosta, which, he is more, he's no better than an AI, is the joke here. But
The
let's-
real tragedy of this is, why didn't the gun violence take Jim Acosta?
Why, God? So, yes, let's backtrack a little bit and play the clip called "What Is This?"
But first, today is August the 4th. That happens to be the birthday of my first guest. Joaquin Oliver died in the Parkland school shooting in Florida back in 2018, but his parents, Manuel and Patricia, have created an AI version of their son to deliver a powerful message on gun violence. Manny asked me if I'd like to be the first reporter to have the chance to interview Joaquin, whose nickname was Guac. I've talked about him on this show before. Knowing Manny for several years now, I consider him to be a good friend. So, of course, I took him up on the opportunity. So here's that interview using artificial intelligence, as well as a conversation I had with Manny about this experience to connect with Guac. Take a look.
A good friend. Interesting.
Yeah. So, we're gonna go to the next clip now in sequence of this interview with Guac or Joaquin, or the large language model speaking through a poor rendering of this dead child. And the next one is gonna be Jim Acosta, the AI in the red corner, asking more about Joaquin.
I would like to know more about you. Can you tell us about yourself? What did you like to do?
I'm all about love, laughter, and living life to the fullest. I cherish my family and friends and always try to spread joy wherever I go. Though my life was cut short, I want to keep inspiring others to connect and advocate for change.
Joaquin, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your favorite sport?
I love basketball. It's such a fun way to connect with friends and show off some skills. Plus, there's nothing like the thrill of a good game.
Guac, I want to know what your favorite basketball team is.
I'd probably go with the Miami Heat. They have such a passionate fan base and an exciting playing style. How about you? Do you have a favorite basketball player?
Oh, yeah, I definitely like LeBron James. He's amazing.
Of course you do.
LeBron is incredible. His skills on the court and his leadership off it are truly inspiring. He's made such a huge impact in the game and beyond.
Definitely. Whenever LeBron is playing, I always have to watch him.
Right. Hey, Jim, just out of curiosity, name 5 more basketball players. That would be great if Joaquin did. Name 5 more basketball players. I couldn't do it.
Okay, let's continue this. And, you know, I joked at the beginning about Jim Acosta being the equivalent of an AI personality, but just listen to this conversation he has with the computer about movies.
Hey, Joaquin, what about movies or TV shows? Was there a movie that you liked?
I love a good movie. One that really resonates with me is Remember the Titans. It's all about teamwork, overcoming adversity, and the power of unity. It's inspiring. What about you? Do you have a favorite movie or show?
Oh, I'm a big Star Wars fan for sure.
Star Wars is such an epic saga. The adventures, the characters, and that iconic music are unforgettable. Do you have a favorite character?
Oh, it's got to be Luke Skywalker. I love Luke Skywalker. What about you?
Luke Skywalker is a classic hero. His journey from a farm boy to a Jedi is so inspiring. I'd probably say Yoda is one of my favorites too. What do you love most about Luke?
I like that Luke became the hero. He came from a very small planet, and he eventually became a Jedi and saved the day. But I like Yoda too. Yoda is very entertaining to watch.
Luke's journey is truly inspiring, and Yoda's wisdom and quirky personality bring so much fun to the series. They both show that anyone can rise to greatness no matter where they start. Do you have a favorite moment from the Star Wars saga?
Jeez.
I definitely think it's when they blow up the Death Star. When they blow up the Death Star, that's obviously the big moment in Star Wars, and it gives you hope for the future.
That's such an iconic moment. The destruction of the Death Star really symbolizes hope and the triumph of good over evil.
Darth Vader and the Emperor, they were such bad guys. They had to be defeated.
Absolutely. The story of hope and resilience against darkness is so powerful. It shows that even in the toughest times, unity and courage can lead to victory. Darth Vader's journey adds so much depth to that theme.
I think the problem that he's running into is the chatbot, the way it's set up is it continues to ask the question after the conversation. So, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie? But then it's like, who's your favorite character in the movie? And he's like then stuck in the loop of, I have to answer this. And because he's an AI, Jim Acosta, that is.
Yes.
So it is kind of comical in that sense. But I agree with Nostra Gang. This is cringe.
Yeah, this is what Jim Acosta's doing now.
Talking to AI. This is journalism. He wants to swap out. Yeah, Darth Vader is such a bad guy. Really, I really identify with Luke Skywalker when I talk to bad guys like Donald J. Trump.
His answers are just so... And the thing about these LLMs, and you can really hear it in this one, and by the way, you're totally right. There are better LLMs they could have used to do this. But they didn't. For whatever reason, they're using this, top of the line LLM from a year ago. And it's awful, but it's also almost like it's set on overbearing HR supervisor mode.
It's kind of
where
go ahead.
the only acceptable answers are the most common and safe answers.
Of course. It's like I have one thing. It's like, what's your favorite movie? Well, before my life was cut short by tragic gun violence that's was easily avoidable, I really enjoyed watching Air Bud. It's like, what was your favorite food? Well, when I wasn't getting mowed down by bullets in my school, I really liked pizza. What's your favorite food? That's what it does. That's the whole thing is like, hey, continually to say that you are representative of a dead person and then have meaningless conversation.
Yes, totally meaningless.
Yep.
And what this really highlights for me is not the ghoulish nature of the parents that are doing this, but just the complete lack of personality of Jim Acosta.
That's true. Wow, these things are just like humans.
Darth Vader was such a bad guy.
I know. I think
wow, Jim.
To Jim's defense, I think he was like, "Oh God, are we still talking about Star Wars?" Christ, it's the third question.
Well, there's one more question, and I'm sorry for anybody out there who's rolling their eyes about this.
This is fun.
But this is the question clip. The AI dead child is going to ask Jim Acosta a question.
What do you think makes a good hero?
Well, a good hero to me is somebody who believes in themselves, somebody who can persevere and fight for what's right. What do you think?
Donald J. Trump.
Absolutely. A good hero embodies courage, resilience, and a strong sense of justice. They inspire others to stand up for what's right, no matter the odds. It's all about making a positive impact. Who inspires you to be a hero in your own life?
HR.
I was going to say that I think your dad, Manuel, is very inspiring, Joaquin, and you are very inspiring.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. My dad's strength and love have always inspired me, and I hope to carry that forward. Together, we can inspire change and spread positivity.
Joaquin, thank you very much for talking to us. We really appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words. It means a lot to me.
I refuse to acknowledge the existence of God.
That was also a thought I had. I halfway expected it to, deny the existence of God as this hell-spawned computer machine that it is.
Well, Jim, I am God.
Yeah. So, let's let's do the last significant clip in here. There's two more, but the last significant clip is Jim talking with this poor kid's dad.
This machine's creator.
And what's amazing about this, Manny, is that, we've heard from the parents, we've heard from the politicians. Now we're hearing from one of the kids. That's important.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened.
No, we're not.
It's really important. Like there's always been some leadership on Joaquin's side. Everything that Patricia and I have done, it ends up being an extension of Joaquin. But this is a way better way to explain it. And moving forward, we will have Joaquin on stage in the middle of a debate.
Oh, wow.
And his knowledge, you saw it, his knowledge is unlimited. And it's based on knowledge that is out there through artificial intelligence, but also knowledge that we were able to upload based on things that he wrote, he said, he posted. So this is a very legit Joaquin, the one that I spoke to you. He really loved Star Wars. He really loved LeBron, and he really loved the Miami Heat.
And I have to say, I didn't even know that he liked Star Wars. And he asked me. And so I responded honestly. And it kind of threw me off a little bit that it was so insightful that I really felt like I was communicating with him.
Oh my God. I can't believe Jim. You were right with the safe answers and the most acceptable answers. Like, I didn't know he loved Star Wars. He probably liked Star Wars, but did he have all these thoughts and ideas of the true meaning behind Star Wars? Probably not. That is the AI model, true and true through and
Yes.
through. And what does the debate with this guy look like? Is Charlie Kirk going to get up there and be like, well, actually, I mean, the whole point of the debate here is going to be, well, I was mowed down by gun violence. Are you saying my
Yeah.
life didn't matter? You know, that's the whole thing that the LLM's going to take. So I don't know. I don't like it. I very much would watch the debate, though.
You think this staged interview with Jim Acosta was cringe? Just put that level of LLM on the stage in a debate. It won't be a debate. It'll be a round table with Walk from Parkland.
Yeah, because, well, the LLMs have a built-in level of agreeableness.
Right.
Well, I will admit that this is the case. You know, that's how it will respond to every point. While there is a sizable amount of this that's happening, I disagree. It'll be terrible. But I, again, want to see it.
Yes, it'll be a work-safe debate.
I hope to God. I'm going to specifically write on my will. I do not want to be made into a large language model. I do not want you to talk to me for hours on end. I don't like Star Wars. I do.
I don't like Star Wars.
I don't like Star Trek. So if I ever say I like Star Trek, that's a lie.
Yes. In his last will and testament, he says, and I quote, "Actually, the Empire were the good guys."
All along. Darth Vader was right. The Jedis are a bunch of liberal hippies that are going to destroy the galaxy.
They're a cult.
They are. They are indeed. All right, well, that's interesting. I also have a little bit of an AI clip.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So this has to do with job security. I forget what outfit did this. I think it might have been the DW. But there's an Indian woman speaking, so it could be any European outfit that we know of. So AI1 intro. I'll just set it up like that.
Are you scared of losing your job to AI? You're not alone. All around the globe, companies are cutting jobs, often using these buzzwords. But many experts believe AI is what's really driving this trend. Just look at the latest headlines. Tech giants like Microsoft, Intel, and TCS are reportedly cutting tens of thousands of jobs in India. And it's not just happening there. According to the investment bank Goldman Sachs, up to 300 million jobs could be replaced by AI by 2030. That is 18% of work globally. However, it's also expected that AI will create new jobs. But for now, is there something like a survival kit that can make our jobs safe against AI? Well, there are steps you can take. Start by understanding what AI can and can't do. In a nutshell, AI is fast, especially at repetitive tasks or those involving large amounts of data. AI is better than humans at jobs like data analysis, language translation, and image recognition. Why? Because AI can process huge amounts of information quickly and spot patterns that humans might miss. Research shows humans still have the edge in tasks that require emotional intelligence, empathy, ethics, and creativity. That's why jobs like counseling, teaching, and creative design are likely to stay in human hands. The reason is that these tasks rely on...
Hold on. Did you catch the jobs that are supposed to remain in human hands? Counseling, teaching, and art.
Oh.
The liberals were right all along.
Human feelings, values, and imagination. Things AI doesn't truly understand. So, which jobs are most at risk? Historically, machines replaced manual labor. Now, AI is coming for so-called white-collar jobs, like in law, finance, and engineering. A rule of thumb, if your role is repetitive and follows clear rules, chances are it can be done by AI. This is true for many roles in manufacturing, customer service, think of AI chatbots, and even some IT tasks like basic data entry. Also, transportation and logistics are being taken over by AI. Autonomous vehicles, anyone? Jobs that rely on human intuition and interaction are much safer, like childcare, education, and healthcare. And don't forget, AI needs humans too. Roles like machine learning engineers, data scientists, and AI managers are booming. In case you're working in a field that is affected by AI, treating it like an enemy isn't the solution. It is here to stay.
It is here to stay.
You know, the to me, the most at risk positions are going to be entry level coding positions.
Yeah, yeah, coding is a big one. Well, sort of. I will say the way right now as it exists, the vibe coding infrastructure and economy, we were chatting about this earlier. Eric PP, Chad F, and Cotton Gin and Sir Spencer and I were talking about this earlier of how there's a lot of stuff that's built on vibe code and it really sucks in the long run. I love the vibe code stuff like for the show. Like the website that you're reading off of the boost is vibe coded. Um, a lot of things are vibe coded. Most of what Mr. Feeney does is vibe coded. But it's good because it's personal stuff and it's not mission critical infrastructure, publicly accessible kind of services. But the stuff that it does code like that, it needs a lot of oversight and people to look through it. So it's really good at producing a lot of code and kind of getting the general gist of what you want to do. But yeah, I think you're right. There's going to be a lot of fine tuning that needs to happen. And there needs to be people that fully
Auditing.
understand the code. Yeah, auditing in a sense, fully understand what's going on within the code in order to make it a little bit more effective. And I think that's an issue right now. I think that's something that if you can hand an AI a kind of list of rules and how naming structures and conventions and ideas like that, I think they're going to be eventually pretty good at being able to take that and make something that you want and in line with your current company structure. But when it comes to things like finance and whatnot, there are parts of it, but I wish my job was more repetitive and followed a simple set of rules. But you know, as it exists today, a lot of companies, most companies rather, their data is in a complete state of disarray, and there's no easy way to access it. Um, and I just think that's going to be either the company goes out of business because competitors that are strategically streamlined with AI, that will happen. But I think we're kind of a ways off. I do like the idea of not treating it like an enemy and maybe learning about it. I think that's the best approach. I play with AI all the time. I wouldn't say I love it, but I do find it a useful tool when I'm trying to
I like
develop
to
something.
test it.
I mean, I just like the idea of I need an app or a function that does this, and it's like, all right, here's one way to do it. Um, so one of the things is I found a guy that had put together a package for getting my MIDI controller to communicate with my audio interface on the network, so I can control our audio through this USB thing, which would be impossible without that connection. And this guy put it together years ago before AI was even a thing. And I've been using it ever since. I took it and I modified it for my specific audio interface and my specific controller. And I got it to work that way. And then just yesterday, I was asking AI to improve it and to give it feedback. So, like when I hit a mute button, turn the mute button red, which is a common thing with MIDI interfaces. And so far, it has not been able to get it to work. And in fact, when it did get it to work, it did so by remapping my MIDI controller and stopping the function of all the other previously working things, like the volume sliders. Like your lights turn on now, but it doesn't actually mute, and the volume sliders don't actually have any control anymore. So
Critical failure.
yeah, exactly. So it's like we accomplished this mission, but we broke everything else. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with a lot of the vibe coded apps right now. All right.
I still think there's a real opportunity out there for anyone who wants to either fund Dan and I to do it or create it themselves and just pay dividends back to the show when you make your millions on it. But to actually implement on-site large language models for small businesses, I think there's a real opportunity there because the cost barrier is one aspect of adopting large language model use, but also you're people making decisions at these companies right now would be much more comfortable with something being hosted by their IT people than they would outsourcing to a company they've never heard of, like ChatGPT, or even some of the more specialized LLMs out there that exist for things like financial analysis. You could go around and sell these companies on having the infrastructure on site and allowing your people to have access to the tool that is an LLM without the risk of having it hosted by a third party. I think you could do pretty well.
So I'm going to go ahead and take that idea and tell you exactly how it's going to play out in the corporate world. That is a great idea. And that's one of the things that was actually kind of a business. People would open up consulting firms where they'd go into a business and set up a bunch of sort of automations for SQL and reporting, that kind of stuff. They would do that, and they do it over and over again at these various companies, and then would continue to receive like a monthly maintenance fee, which is a great idea. How that is going to happen with AI is going to be, it's going to go the way of the way that Microsoft subscriptions already work. You pay for however many Windows licenses, yada, yada, yada. Now Windows or whoever is going to create a new chatbot, all the businesses are going to use it. It's specified for your company, so you set it up inside with your internal data systems, and then you let it run. And that's what's going to happen. As much as I would love to see the independent world grow, it's going to be a large business that does it and reeks all the subscription fees.
And it'll be an awful product.
It will be an awful product, but there's going to be some sectors that kind of the large businesses overlook. Small sectors like bakeries and flower shops. Like, what would they use AI for? And the people that are really kind of focusing and trying to, like, how do I build the business model around this? They'll figure it out, and not the large groups. Large groups are going to go for the most generic and wide market groups possible. That's what's going to happen, though. It's going to be nothing different than Microsoft Office subscription fees. Oh, you get Copilot. All right.
Yeah, you're probably right.
This second clip is titled something else because I had cut the clips and then got distracted and forgot what was in it, and then it was showtime. So something else.
So, what strategies can you follow? First, think about what you can bring to the table that AI can't replicate. Then, consider which parts of your job could be automated to free up your time. Best case scenario, you let AI take over the boring stuff, and you focus on what you do best. Then, stay up to date on what's happening in the field of AI tools and practice using them. Even if you don't need AI tools now, start learning to use them. Try image generators, experiment with AI assistants, and consider getting certified in AI-related skills. It'll make you stand out to future employers. Last but not least, don't panic. Even though there are a lot of doomsday predictions about the future of work out there, like this one, or that one. But there's good news too. Some forecasts say that even though many jobs will be lost, more new ones will be created. So it's all about getting the right skill set. Bottom line, AI isn't going anywhere. You can see it as a threat or as a tool that can help shape the future of work for the better. The key is to stay curious, keep learning, and adapt as new technologies evolve. How has AI already changed your work? And what do you expect in the near future? Let us know in the comments.
Let us know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. I like the idea of getting an AI certificate. I might do that. And I think you have about a 2 to 3 year window opportunity before this kind of certificate or the exact specifications of an AI certificate are defined by larger companies, where you can probably get hired on. So if you get a kind of a general AI certificate and you can just put AI certificate on your resume, you'll probably stand out and pop.
Yes, I am a certified vibe auditor.
Vibe auditor. I mean, I do use AI for my job when writing large SQL queries when I don't really want to figure out all of the syntax, and I just say, this is what I want to do, and these are the column headers, make it work. And it's pretty good at doing that already. But of course, I don't advertise my usage of AI in that sense.
Right.
So right now it's just me and I do these miracle stuff with data. But it is coming. People are going to use it. It's not going to be something that doesn't happen. It will happen, and it probably stuff will take a quality dip for a little bit while they figure it out. But that's part of AI. It's constantly learning. As we do this podcast, AI got smarter. Maybe.
And Jim Acosta got dumber.
Yes. Jim Acosta. Wow. This is like a real human being.
So ridiculous.
All
you know,
right.
I didn't even play the best clip. I told you there were two.
Yeah.
And one was substantial and one was not. The last clip in the Acosta folder, the AI folder, is really telling. And I think I had it labeled something like telling the truth, at least the truth, or something like that.
I'll play it. I got it right here.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Manny. Really appreciate it, and thanks for bringing Joaquin to us. I'm still kind of speechless. I can't get over what I just saw. It's just amazing.
Thank you for you bringing it.
Yeah, you got it. Oh, anytime you bring anything to me, I will do it.
Anything at all, anything you got, I will literally do it. I'm out of a job. I really need content. I don't know what to talk about after I mentioned the one basketball player I know and the movie franchise that everyone loves. So it makes me seem like a human. Yeah.
Yes, I thought that was funny.
Thank you for bringing him. It's like Jim Acosta's like, hey, the AI of your dead son, is that ready to go? Can we present that to people?
So ghoulish.
It is, indeed.
You bring me anything, I'll do it. Maybe we should see if Jim Acosta will interview us.
Hey, Jim. You know what'd be funny? Oh, man, what horrible thing could happen to you? You died in a wildfire, okay? And I pitched the story of, he died in a wildfire, and we just want him to pretty much get out the message that Smokey the Bear is getting. Only you can prevent wildfires. And then he interviews you, and we pretend you're an AI.
Yes.
And you answer everything like, well.
No, I think the better story is, fit 30-year-old dies of COVID in 2025.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I think that's the one to get him with.
Well, I was perfectly healthy, benching 225 daily, eating my large shakes, and then COVID hit. And it was terrible. But I do love Star Wars, Jim. What's my favorite food? Oat smoothies. Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be funny. Let's set it up.
Jim, what does the alliance between the rebels in Star Wars and the smugglers in Star Wars mean to you?
That immigration is a net good. All right, what else you got domestic-wise, if anything?
Yes, I have some political clips. And the first one is just a general Rachel Maddow clip because I feel like we don't talk about Rachel Maddow enough. She is very popular, and sometimes we turn our nose up at Rachel Maddow clips. But a lot of people watch Rachel. They love Rachel. And this line, we've seen this line before, but they're going back to it. And I think it's evident that there's a lack of material at the moment. And they've started filling this gap with the Texas redistricting talk in the last few days. But before that, there was a bit of a lack of material. And this is what you get. You get this town hall bit. And we've seen this before where, the Republicans go home and get ripped a new one at the town hall. And we're seeing that again now. And Rachel Maddow did a little piece on it. And this is Rachel on town halls again.
Americans are badgering elected Republicans everywhere they're willing to show their faces.
Badgering.
Including tonight In Nebraska, Republican Congressman Mike Flood holding a town hall with his red state constituents. Watch.
Hi, I implore you to be quiet so that we can hear his responses. Remember, Mike's coming up for a re-election, and we'd really like to know what his responses are. I'm Rosina. I write you emails with concerns of your voting behavior regarding Trump and his actions. You support him, especially confirming the cabinet. Your responses are riddled with misinformation and lies. I fact check you, and then I send the responses back. And I get crickets. If I am fact checking them because they are wrong in your response, I send them back to you, and I get crickets. I get kind of bummed. And this is not about partisan.
Yeah, red state constituents.
This is about issues, because we're about to lose our democracy.
Yeah, right. That's the right-wing talking point. Yeah, listen, everyone is in agreement. All of the Republicans in the room are cheering for her.
My question is fiscal. With $450 million FEMA dollars being reallocated to open Alligator Alcatraz and $600 million taxpayer FEMA dollars being used to now open more concentration camps, and ICE burning through $8.4 million a day to illegally detain people, how much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
That was in Nebraska tonight at a town hall held by Republican Congressman Mike.
All those pig farming rednecks, can you believe it? They're standing up to a Republican.
Flood, him hearing from his constituents tonight. We have total clarity now on what Trump's intentions are for the country. But I mean it when I say we. The country gets it and is more against it than they've ever been. And opposing this administration and what Trump is trying to do is turning out to be the story of the century.
The story of the century.
I love the mainstream media. If people will string together some random thoughts and then a crowd cheers for it, even if it's completely stupid, they'll put it on the air.
The sentiment of the nation.
Yeah. Woo! Everyone agrees with her stupid point. These Republicans, they hate...
You need to put markers down for the last 30 seconds.
All right. Woo!
Yes, this is something else. I mean, just the sheer positioning of this, to your point about these are definitely Republicans. And to be very frank about who this is going to these town halls, it's old and fat women.
It's the same women at the No Kings protest in Nita.
Exactly.
It was when
old women and fat women.
You know, those are valuable, and I really need the protest to continue so I can infiltrate the Zoom meetings, because they broke the whole. You know, people are getting turned away at the border for memes on their phone. But when I was in there, it was old women. And it was these kind of ugly leftist activist type people.
What is the price of fascism?
Yeah. What are you even saying? What does that mean? And how are they illegally detaining people that are illegal immigrants? It's just like, you can cheer for that.
Oh, Dan with the logic trap.
You can cheer for that, but it doesn't mean it's a good point, you know?
No.
Like,
you know,
Hitler said we should kill all the Jews, and a lot of people cheered for it. But was it a good point? Probably not. Probably not.
Yes, the equivalent of Rachel Maddow went on the radio in Nazi Germany.
That's right.
And said, the fight against the Juden is the issue of the decade.
Wow, well, people are falsely accusing Hitler of this hate crime, but have you seen what the Jews are doing? Have you seen it? Terrible stuff.
Oh, so good. See, this is why we should not neglect Rachel.
I mean, I have no problem bringing Rachel Maddow on the show, especially when there's not a lot that happens in the news. That's when we should get involved in the culture war.
Yeah, I also want to say that not all old or fat women fall into this category. That's just the demographic that makes up these No Kings and red state town hall protests.
Yeah, there's a special sort of arrogance. I see a lot of people saying they hate Missouri or whatnot. People in Missouri, I hate Missouri because of this, and that is the mentality of these old fat women. There's like, well, I disagree with how the state is politically, and then they kind of become a little bit of a martyr because they're speaking out in the state where they could be denied entry.
They're speaking truth to power.
Right. That's the big one. I'm speaking truth to power. No, you are on Nextdoor and you're rambling on about BS no one cares about. This is about neighborhood issues. It's about fallen trees and power outages. It's not about your belief in the process that ICE is using to detain illegal immigrants. It's not a platform for this, but whatever. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for attention. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Right.
Okay, well, let's talk about this Texas redistricting a little bit. I've got two clips from PBS. Now, I brought these specifically from PBS because we got the news this week that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting would be shutting its doors in the face of its funding being removed from the federal government, central government. And, of course, this was bandied about on social media as the end of public radio, when in reality, PBS and NPR will still exist. They just won't have the level of funding that they've had in the past. So I brought this from PBS because, part of the stipulations for receiving the grants that PBS received from CPB was that they be partisan in their news coverage. So I brought this story from PBS on purpose. PBS report, Texas redistricting.
In the Texas House of Representatives today,
members, a quorum is not present.
Gridlock. The Republican majority had planned to vote through new partisan congressional district maps, a goal pushed by President Trump and one of the reasons for this special session.
To those who are absent, return now. The people of Texas are watching, and so is the nation. And if you choose to continue down this road, you should know there will be consequences.
Instead, nearly every Democrat was absent from the chamber, preventing any voting.
This is State Representative Benton Jones, and we're here at the airport preparing to break quorum.
Many of them had fled the state Sunday, posting their protests from the tarmac.
The governor and president has forced redistricting down our throats. I'm out, but I'm here for you.
They landed in Democratic strongholds, like Chicago.
If Donald Trump is allowed to do this, if he is allowed to once again cheat and get away with it, there's no stopping this.
And Albany.
The fight to protect democracy is not confined to one state. The fight is for all 50.
Democratic governors welcomed them. In Illinois, J.B. Pritzker.
Let's be clear, this is not just rigging the system in Texas. It's about rigging the system against the rights of all Americans for years to come.
This is not new. This stuff has been going on. This happened in Wisconsin. I don't even remember what they were voting on, but the Democrats fled to Illinois. And it is a protest, and it is basically, this is what's funny. When they talk about we're losing our democracy, this is what it looks like. Oh, I'm not going to do my job because I know we're going to lose the vote, so I'm going to fly away to a different state. That's not democracy. That's fascism. Kind of. We just won't have the vote. We're not going to vote then. We're going to lose. It's poor sportsmanship.
It is poor sportsmanship, at least. And Republicans are going to play right into Democrats' hands with this messaging by issuing these civil arrest orders. You're going to give them the photo shoot of them being marched back into Texas in handcuffs.
Or not even in handcuffs. They'll just hold their hands behind their back like AOC and the one that married your brother did. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
This is what civil rights is. You have to pretend that you're arrested.
It's all so fake.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, well, we've got another clip from PBS, the partisan outfit, and it's called Retaliation.
Oh, boy. The Republicans are going to lock them up.
And in New York, Governor Kathy Hochul, who said if the Texas maps move forward, she would push her state to redraw its own congressional map to boost Democrats.
If Republicans are willing to rewrite these rules to give themselves an advantage, then they're leaving us no choice. We must do the same.
An escalation in a redistricting arms race. It started with Texas Republicans' plan to axe 5 Democratic-held U.S. House seats. Currently, Republicans hold 25 of the state's 38 seats in the chamber. The proposed map would bring the number of likely Republican-held seats to 30, bolstering the chances of the GOP maintaining control of the House in next year's midterm elections and beyond.
Clearly, she's going to explain why they're going to be able to do this.
Besides what Democrats see as a brazen power grab, the new map could disproportionately disenfranchise Black and Latino voters.
The new map, based on the same rules as the old map, but applied to the actual demographics of today.
Republicans, including Texas Governor Greg Abbott, have been quick to fulfill the president's wishes.
They're very un-Texan. Texans don't run from a fight.
Governor Abbott was on Fox News today.
Because these Democrats have absconded from the responsibility, and I believe they have forfeited their seats in the state legislature because they're not doing the job they were elected to do.
In Austin today, Republicans in the Texas House passed a motion to call the absent members back under warrant of arrest if necessary. But despite the threats and facing fines of $500 per day, Democrats say they have no intention of returning until the special session ends on August 19th.
Zero representation of the Republican reasoning or position.
Well, and, I'm not playing favorites with the Republicans. I think I'm a firm believer in the uniparty, but the Republicans do have a point. The maps have changed. The current seats are based on old census data, which have changed dramatically, and that's what the Republicans are seeking to do, is to redistrict it. And this was mentioned.
Yes, but they're doing it without new census data.
Sure.
Which is historically the trigger. But there's no law requiring a census before you can redistrict.
Right. We didn't even get
just
that level of detail from the PBS report.
What?
But I mean, this was talked about during the election as a potential strategy here for the Republican Party. So I don't know why this is news or a surprise for anybody, other than the mainstream media decided to spike it up during a slow news week. And while the
Democrats
it's
coordinated. Otherwise, you wouldn't have all of these lawmakers fleeing Texas.
Of course, it's coordinated. They didn't all just wake up one day and say, "Hey, I'm going to flee," and then.
No, I mean with the media as well.
Yeah, they called the media. They posted on the tarmac, dramatic. This is how bad things are. Here I am at the airport. I'm ready to leave the state of Texas because of this. They're literally forcing me to leave the state. It's all semantics, and it's all how you draw up the narrative behind it and the visuals. Insane.
Yeah, this the way that this could backfire is if a case gets brought against this and it gets taken to the Supreme Court. I'm not sure exactly how the structuring of the case would be, but we could, and maybe maybe this is a fever dream, and I see the news headline come across my cell phone as John Brennan rubs my feet.
You and men in your feet. It's the second time in as many podcasts.
The Civil Rights Act overturned by Supreme Court.
You think?
because it has a lot to do with the way these districts are required to be drawn, redrawn. So I don't know. I haven't really. It's kind of a spur of the moment, and it's funny because it's John Brennan. By the way, that's the whole joke. Is it's John Brennan? You know, oh, I could say Victoria Nuland, but how? That's not fun. She looks like a man anyway.
Does she? I don't really know what she looks like.
Really?
Yeah. I
kind of
heard about Victoria Nuland on podcasts, so I talk about Victoria Nuland on podcasts. I guess it's time I should figure out what she looks like. Oh, yeah. I do know what she looks like. Wow, some of these photos are more flattering than others. Wow.
You know, that's what happens when you topple governments for a living. Some people love you, others put unflattering photos on the internet.
It's all the cookies she was handing out during the Maidan Revolution.
That's right.
Went right to her face.
Yep. Sure did.
All right, are you clipped out, or what else you got?
Oh, well, let's see. I've got one more clip. It's about the environment, about some volcanoes.
Oh, boy.
So if you're ready for it, we can talk about the Ring of Fire.
Sure. Let's do it.
Scientists have warned of the growing number of volcanic eruptions along the Pacific Ring of Fire, triggered by an earthquake last week. A chain of 3 volcanoes has been set off, with one roaring back to life with its first eruption in 600 years on Sunday evening. The largest volcano in the region exploded with a stream of lava just hours after the enormous earthquake in the Pacific last Wednesday.
That lava.
Then on Sunday, another of the volcanoes spewed a column of ash nearly 4 miles into the sky in the historic eruption, and the alarm was raised on Monday evening local time over rumbling at a third site. The public has been strongly warned against visiting the volcano after a thermal anomaly was picked up. The string of geological detonations was ignited by an 8.8 magnitude earthquake last Wednesday, the 6th strongest ever recorded. The volcanoes being activated lie along the Ring of Fire, an enormous horseshoe-shaped strip surrounding the Pacific Ocean, which contains hundreds of volcanoes.
Well, the eruption itself is, of course, dangerous. There's lava, there's volcanic gases, there's ash, which, I'm not too sure on what might happen in the future, but it's definitely going to have an impact on the immediate surroundings and local people's livelihoods. You have this big region which rings the Pacific called the Ring of Fire. And the areas around there are uniquely at risk from earthquakes and volcanoes just because of the vagaries of plate tectonics. You have plates sliding past each other, they get stuck and locked. The process isn't continuous. Pressure is building up either side until something's got to give. And then when that thing does give, the plate that's on top of the plate below suddenly moves forwards. You have a massive displacement of oceanic crust. And then you have things like we saw, was it last week, where you had the tsunami, which is caused by a sudden rapid movement upwards of the ocean floor, displacing a huge amount of water in the ocean. So, if there were to be another earthquake locally, you could see tsunamis happening. And the thing about tsunamis is they travel at the speed of a jet aircraft. So they would affect the whole of the Pacific to more or less degrees over relatively short timescales, so kind of hours.
Oh no, my volcano's gonna erupt. I'm gonna spew ash everywhere.
Volcanoes have been erupting.
Yeah, and they always will erupt.
Yeah, but they've been more frequent, which, if you recall, a year or so ago, we talked about the solar cycle and the solar maximum coming up this year, and the violence and the chaos and everything that was going to happen because of the solar maximum. Included in that was earthquakes and volcanoes.
Yeah, that'll happen. I tried to find the Ring of Fire on a map, and Google Maps is like, that's not a place. You mean Ring of Fire, California? No. But I did discover the Midway Atoll, which I believe is where the Battle of Midway took place.
Of fame.
Of fame, of course. Well, that is interesting and fun because I don't know. There's something oddly sexual about volcanoes. I think it's because they erupt
They're
and
primal.
spew.
It's the Earth's pent up energy exploding. I was gonna take that way too far.
Well, it's true. It's nature's. Yeah, I'm not going to continue that
Release.
sentence either. Okay, so the nature's release. Oh man, that's got to be a product. I don't know what the product is, but nature's release that is an excellent product name.
It's a natural laxative.
Are you feeling pent up, frustrated? Well, you need nature's release. Spew energy outwards and grab life by the fullest. Loosen the load. Lighten your load. Yeah, there's a lot of buzzwords that you could apply.
Volcanoes used to be thought to be portals into other worlds back when humans were more fun.
And stars were just the holes to heaven.
Yeah, but the portals to another world were accessible.
That's true. But not very long. You go in that portal when it's portaling and you don't get very far. Maybe you do. Maybe you just never return from that portal. That'd be interesting. That kind of reminds me of, what was that show? Outer Range? You ever see Outer Range?
No.
It got canceled after 2 seasons, but it was like sci-fi Yellowstone is the best way I could describe it. And this hole opens up and people climb in and out of it from different time periods. It's fascinating. Really a good show. I don't know why they canceled it. They need a season 3, I think.
Yes. Well, I don't know about Outer Range, but if you want to learn more about when people used to think volcanoes were portals into another world, you can look up the pre-Socratic philosopher Empedocles.
Empedocles, yeah, I see people in the chat rushing to do that just now.
Yes.
I kid you not. Did you hear about Project Crypto?
Project Crypto.
Project Crypto from Paul Adkins.
Sorry, no.
That's all right. I got a clip from the Squawk Box here, and they're talking to Paul Adkins about Project Crypto. A lot of people are predicting that August 15th, if this goes through, we're going to see a big jump in Bitcoin.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, here we go.
Welcome back. Look at the move in Bitcoin, down a bit as the market digests the jobs report and new tariffs. Yesterday, the SEC laying out what it's calling Project Crypto, a plan to modernize regulations and allow for crypto-based trading. And joining us now here first on CNBC to discuss it is SEC Chair Paul Atkins. Chair Atkins, welcome. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Sarah. It's great to be here.
So I read your speech. I mean, my takeaway is this is not the SEC under Gary Gensler. This is a new regime. What do you want people to take away from Project Crypto and what you're saying about it?
Well, thanks for that question. So it is a new day at the SEC, and we are picking up the gauntlet and the challenge that President Trump has laid down to make America, the crypto capital of the world, and to have U.S. technology basically running the world running on U.S. technology. So there are a lot of ways that we can help do that, and that is provide certainty and regulatory certainty and good rules that are fit for purpose for the crypto industry so that innovators know how to innovate and investors know what they're investing in, and that everybody can have certainty so that it's on a firm foundation.
Firm foundation, crypto capital of the world. Somehow they'll screw it up, but I don't know. I think my long thing has been when we were talking about hosting nodes and building our own nodes and podcasting 2.0, and I would say, well, it's too difficult for people to use it. And the argument was, well, everyone's got to get in the car and drive, and just because your grandma can't do it doesn't mean it's not something. And I agree with that, but the main thing is if more people are using crypto, that is, the value of it increases. And that was my main argument, is it needs to become more popular. and potentially this will green light it to make it more popular. But at the end of the day, I find the government doing anything is usually a bad sign, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, Eric PP saying crypto no, Bitcoin yes. I'm definitely with you on the Bitcoin is the only crypto. Everything else is a shitcoin train. But we'll see. We'll see. So
yes, I don't look for the government to adopt the theory of Bitcoin maximalists.
No.
So they're going to give credence to some useless cryptos, taking away market share from Bitcoin. I don't think they can do anything to kill Bitcoin, but they can definitely steer unsuspecting speculators and investors into poor choices by validating some of these cryptos.
Yeah, stable coins one. I don't know. The way I see it is the more that people get into crypto, it kind of rises all boats. So people will buy shit coins, they'll buy their meme coins and whatnot. But it tends to raise all boats a little bit. In my perspective, I'm not a Bitcoin expert at all. I kind of stopped my education after I got my Bitcoin node set up and started collecting Bitcoin payments. So in no way, shape, or form am I a Bitcoin expert, but I could have net positive impact on Bitcoin. Time will tell. Time will tell what's actually in it. But Gary Gensler's no more, and it's now the Paul Adkins regime when it comes to the SEC. So we'll see.
If I had to guess, and I haven't done any research into this, as I indicated earlier, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. If I had to guess, this is going to open the door for fund managers and wealth managers to utilize stablecoins, as you mentioned just a second ago, to invest directly into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some products that the SEC will validate. They're not going to validate every single meme coin project that pops up. So they will give validity to some, and then your professional wealth advisors and managers will be able to invest, quote unquote, more directly for their customers instead of just having to use ETFs.
Right. I think it's just building out the legal framework, and what does this have for decentralized exchanges and the decentralized usage of Bitcoin? That remains to be seen, and that's why it's so just I don't know optimistic and not optimistic, but there's a potential for it to be good. There's a potential for it to be awful. Smart money's on awful, I think, but we'll see. We shall see.
As long as it's not as bad as Jim Acosta.
That's true. That's true. Finally, a Denmark zoo has asked people to donate their small pets as food for captive predators. I shit you not. The Aalborg Zoo says it's trying to mimic the natural food chain of animals housed there and offers assurances the pets will be gently euthanized by training staff. At which point, they're trying to give these captive predators the wild experience, right? To give them the more natural food.
So you're going to give it roadkill?
Exactly. I think you just be honest. You say, all right, you don't like this yappy little Yorkie. We're just going to throw it in the cage and watch the lion hunt it down. It'll be exciting. And that's that. I see a lot of people potentially stealing their mother-in-law lives with them.
Yes.
Their dog runs away, air quotes, and then before you know it, the tiger at the zoo is eating Fluffy.
Yeah, it's like the guy whose cat got shipped back to Amazon, and it was, how did the cat get in the box that got shipped back to Amazon? Yeah, we know how the cat got in the box, guy.
You put it there. So the zoo points to guinea pigs, rabbits, and chickens as possible donations. After being euthanized, the animals will be used as fodder, the zoo said. That way, nothing goes to waste, and we ensure natural behavior, nutrition, and well-being of our predators. Natural behavior is hunting.
It's not natural behavior.
I know. Oh, I have come across an incredible feast, a dead rabbit. I'll just run around in circles and pounce on it and
But you know what
that I
this
hunted it
is?
down.
This is because of the green initiatives, we can't afford the steak that we used to feed the lions.
That's right. The price of fertilizer has gone up way too high. I like that. You can't fertilize the grass that the cows eat, and the supply of beef is going away.
Where's the
True.
beef?
You know what else?
What else?
This is an excellent second option for the goose problem. We talked about giving migrants goose. Let's give lions geese.
Now that'd be entertainment.
I would like that. I think you could just clip their wings and put them in there and have the goose feeding show at 5 p.m. You got to be here for the goose feeding show. It's the best. And then you just watch nature be nature. You watch these caged lions attack geese mercilessly. Oh, the online call for pet donations is accompanied by a picture of a wildcat baring its teeth with its mouth wide open and a link to the zoo's website, noting the facility is also interested in receiving horses. The zoo, which could not immediately be reached for additional details, does not list other pets or animals as possible donations. So they're ixnaying it on the cats and dogs. But I foresee this being a news story in the next coming days of public backlash. I guarantee you there's going to be public backlash to this. If frickin' Sydney Sweeney selling jeans is too much for people, feeding pets to wild animals is really going to set a bunch of people over the edge. Interesting move, Denmark, I will say. Interesting move. What about you, John? You got any spare chickens lying around or horses?
Oh, chickens galore.
Do you have chickens?
My parents do.
I would like some chickens.
I don't have any at my house, but there are chickens galore.
Elise is hesitant on chickens, and I'll tell you why after the beat drops. She goes, "Don't you think Ralph will eat them?" And I was like, I don't know. I think it would be fun to find out, though. You know? Put my dog in the backyard with a chicken, see what happens.
Dogs are interesting around chickens. They sometimes will eat them, and you don't want them to get a taste for it. The same way you don't want them to get a taste for the eggs, because they will suck eggs.
I know Ralph. Ralph is one of those dogs where he likes chasing rabbits and squirrels, but as soon as he comes across like a cat, and the cat kind of swings a claw at him, Ralph's head jerks back, and he's like, "What the hell?"
But the chickens just run.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah, it might be worth to see. I might buy a chicken just for the hell of it. Worst case scenario, have some chicken tenders for dinner. Best case scenario, I have a pet chicken, which I'm not going to do, so I'll have some chicken tenders for dinner. Either way, chicken tenders for dinner. Maybe I'll join you crazy Southerners and start eating cock. Remember that? No?
I don't recall.
You were, it was post-show, and Taylor asked you if you wanted leftover cock for dinner. Because you had a spatchcock, or you'd spatchcocked a chicken or something like that.
You don't spatchcock a chicken. You spatchcock a turkey.
I don't know.
You're hearing things. You're creating things in that devious northern imagination.
I distinctly remember it. But from St. Louis, Missouri, I've been Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where we're just having normal meals. I'm John G. Dew.
Well put. Well, you know the thing. Keep your gun loaded. I don't know. See if your German Shepherd will eat your chicken. It's a fun experiment. I'm going to do it myself. But until next Tuesday, MMO out.